But a couple of Tea Partiers have some advice for the speaker. Don't make nice and don't give an inch. To Tea Party Patriot founders Mark Meckler and Jenny Beth Martin. Well, you guys are the focus of this debate, I guess, if you think about it, that the cuts that you've been advocating are the things that the president indicated today he is limiting. Mark, to you first, did you sense that? Are you worried about that?
We're not worried about it. And really, Neil, we're not the focus of the debate. America's future is the focus of the debate. This is about our children and our grandchildren and the kind of country we're going to leave to them. Are they going to be slaves to a gigantic welfare state that's out of control? Are they going to be free citizens like our founders intended? That's really what this debate is about.
So you're in the camp, Jenny, but cut as much as you can, as fast as you can, even if it is a budget that isn't a budget, that is a few months to go because we never called it a budget. But even if that's out there along with Ryan's next year budget.
Yeah, we've got to cut as much as we can. We need to cut now, today. And if we don't start now, when are we going to start? And it's time to do it. And I'm glad to see that Boehner isn't giving in right now and that he's standing up and sticking to the principles right now.
Well, they're sticking it to each other.
Yeah,
and
they
I
are.
did mention, Mark, how personal it's gotten to me. Maybe because I'm, a fan of the Godfather movies, but it has taken on a Godfather movie feel that it is business for a while. Then it became personal, and now it's all personal, and has very little to do with business. What do you make of that?
Well, I do think it's still about business, Neil. I think what's interesting as far as getting personal is you have, for the first time, at least in my memory, politicians attacking citizens. You have Harry Reid going on the Senate floor and attacking members of the Tea Party, not attacking the opposition and Republicans, but actually attacking citizens.
He thinks you guys are nuts,
That's
very, very clear.
So again, politicians attacking citizens in a free country, that's pretty extraordinary. I think it's dangerous.
Jenny Beth, to that point, and what Harry Reid thinks of folks like you, he was pretty clear in this comment. I want you to react to it. This is from Harry Reid.
I think that the Tea Party is driving what goes on in the House of Representatives. And we cannot do what they want done.
We cannot do what they want done.
All we're asking for is to cut 2.6 pennies out of every dollar they spend. And he thinks that's extreme, draconian, extreme punishment. I don't understand. They're spending our money that they take out of our paychecks, and they're complaining because we're telling them quit spending so much of our money.
Could you guys at least straighten me out on what is the number that you find acceptable? We heard there's a gap, and depending on how they use these numbers, between 30, 35 billion that Democrats might consider cutting out of this continuing resolution, 60, 61 billion that Republicans want. What do you want?
We want what they promised, Neil. That's 100 billion. So it's 61 billion. They're not even 2/3 of the way to what.
So if they came up with a 61 billion miraculously, you would still say bad.
We would still say bad, and we would continue to push for more. The 2012 budget's right behind it. We're going to continue, and that's.
So why don't you focus on that one? This is all last year's snow kind of deal.
Well,
because they're still spending our money. It's still money that they're spending, and it's real money. Do you know how many zeros are after a trillion?
A lot.
12. 12.
Really?
We had to actually look it up to make sure we knew. It's real money.
But I'm wondering, where do we go with this? I mean, it's obviously gotten to the point where not only is it personal, but everyone argues that John Boehner is the guy who's in this proverbial box. Chuck Schumer says he's in a box. It's pretty clear Harry Reid thinks he's in a box. The president seems to think he's in a box. Is he in a box?
I think that the Senate and the White House are in a box. I think that Congress should have passed a budget last year before the elections. They haven't passed a budget since 2009.
But the other side's playing the games. You see what I'm saying? Like when the president says that and leaves out that little detail, who's being disingenuous to whom?
They're being disingenuous to us, the American people. They're making fun of the Tea Party. The Tea Party is the American people. What is the statistic that we heard today?
48% of people identify with the Tea Party's positions, 22% identify with Congress and say Congress represents their positions. So it seems to me that we're speaking for the American public and that Congress, and specifically the Democrats right now, are the ones who are out of step.
I could see, Mark, a lot of Democrats looking at you guys and saying, here, these guys are our wedge. We could put a wedge between them and the typical Republicans, divide the conservative vote, and President Obama can waltz into re-election.
I think they thought we were the wedge in 2010 too, and look what happened to them in 2010. I think what's going to happen in 2012 is going to make 2010 look small by comparison.
You know what I think they're doing, guys? And I think the view is they're going to wait you guys out. They're going to wait this out. They think the Tea Party furor is dying down. That's what they think. And the more they can cast you as extreme and nutty, the better for them. What do you think?
They're certainly trying to cast us as extreme, and every time they do that, we grow. We're asking for 2.6 pennies to be cut out of every dollar that they spend.
So when you see Paul Brown, let's leave this little circus aside for right now. Next year's budget, he's talking about more than $6 trillion in cuts over 10 years. We'd still have a hell of a lot of debt, but it would be going down. Would you find that okay?
I think the answer is it seems like they're moving in the right direction. We appreciate that Ryan has showed leadership. That's been lacking sorely in Congress, so that's a good thing. We really need to review the plan in more specifics before we can tell you. I think he's got over 60 pages that he's put forth. It'll take us at least a day. Unlike a lot of the folks in Congress, we actually read these things.
Well, that's a problem right there. But the fact that it leaves out things like military and all this, the critics immediately pounced on it and said, well, see, you're no better than the president not speaking up on entitlements. You're protecting your defense buddies.
We've got to look at everything. And as far as Tea Party Patriots goes, everything's on the table. And we're pretty sure you can find places to cut, even in military spending.
Does it bug either of you that if the government does indeed shut down on Saturday, you're the reason you forced us into what could be a crisis, whatever?
It doesn't bother me right now. The majority of the American public says more cuts or shut down the government. 57% of the American public says.
Yeah, but what when they realize they can't go to a museum, go to a park, or a lot of things that take for granted, like getting a passport, then they're going to come back and hate you guys. That's why I sense when I hear from a lot of the other side, they're saying, well, that's what we mean by waiting these guys out.
It's not our fault. If the government shuts down, it's the fault of the people in Congress for not passing a budget before now.
No,
They
I
should have
recognize
done
that, but do you worry ahead of time that they're going to shove this on you?
I'm sure they'll try to, and I think that the American people are smart enough to see through it. We have faith in the American people. We think that they're smart enough. We believe in the American people, and we trust the American people.
What?
I agree with that. I mean, they've been discounting us since the very beginning of the movement back in February 2009. We were going away. We were going to collapse. We've been called everything under the sun. Every time we come back and essentially we whack them down, and we're pushing the debate and shrinking government. I'm not worried about it. People know what's going on in Congress.
You're cheap in general, right? Both of you. You're very cheap. You watch extravagant spending, right?
We don't like it. We think that's how Americans are, Neil, right? Is they don't like that kind of spending and they don't want their government spending like that.
But you were counting the muffins in the green room. I thought that was a little over the top. Guys, thank you both very much. We wanted to get your side out there and say, you know, it's not quite what you hear in the media about these folks. They're not crazy.